Hey there, welcome back to Farmcraft. We're building a pond and we're looking at the dam now. It's about half of its final height, so we've got a lot of dirt to move, but don't worry, this isn't just a dirt moving video. Lots of different challenges coming up here. Dumping at an angle like this always gives me a little bit of a pucker. As the bed's going up, I'm ready to push it right back down if anything starts feeling unstable. On camera this looks like it's full of rocks, but it's actually not. There's a few rocks in there, but the vast majority of those things that you're seeing are just clumps of clay that you could easily mold with your hands. Well, I don't know why this camera's shut off. But, the dump truck is stuck, courtesy of the rain the day before yesterday. It's crazy how long this stuff stays wet. Let's go see if we can pull this thing out. So yeah, it just really sunk in when I hit that low spot where the water was sitting yesterday. So the first time I did this, the chain I used only had a hook on one end, so I had to have the dozer facing backwards. I've got a new chain for this, but it's a little smaller. This one has a 9,000 pound braking strength. That ought to be plenty. Okay, maybe not. Since this chain only has one hook, I have to use the hook that's welded onto the dozer blade. And so I turn around and go in reverse. So if the chain were to break when I'm doing this, the dozer would be going in reverse on its own. So I would have to be able to run and catch up to it, which I could easily do. And then I need to push the throttle in this direction, which would turn the engine off. Somebody commented a great idea is that I just tie a string to the throttle, attach that to the truck. If the chain ever breaks, then the string's going to come taut and pull the throttle off and automatically shut down the dozer. Quite a bit safer, actually. I think I'll probably do that in the future. As always, thanks for the comments and great ideas. It's fun that works. So I must say, I'm surprised how quickly I've gotten comfortable operating that dozer. I really like the foot steering. When you're in reverse, you can just totally turn around and watch and steer with your feet. And yeah, it's growing on me. I like it. I like my excavator too. It's been working great. Yeah, it rained overnight. And I'm stuck again. I'm probably getting a little too comfortable with this technique of getting unstuck. What you doing, little guy? You know, in the East, at least where I live, and I think in most of the USA, if you can get close enough to see their pupil, if it's a round pupil, then it is not a venomous snake. And I can see his pupil. He's just a black snake. And one thing about black snakes, they like to eat baby copperheads. They raid copperhead nests. And I do not like copperheads because they are venomous and they're mean. They'll bite you if you step near them. So carry on, little black snake. Imagine that, it rained again. It didn't just rain, it dumped. That's a lot of water. Yeah. But I was noticing even when it's running up above all the new excavation, it's still brown.
Yeah.
Like all that sediment isn't from this pond,
no,
but
there's a lot of sediment that's still running off.
it's hot, and oftentimes there's no wind down in this bottom, and it's just oppressive. But it turns out that I took the wipers out of this thing, so I have wiring right there and a switch right there for the wipers. Now it doesn't work unless I have the ignition on. So now we have air conditioning. Oh, that's so much better. So I want to thank Bouge RV for sponsoring this video. This is not one of my typical sponsored products because this is really a luxury item, at least in my view. This is a portable air conditioner, but I've got several use cases for this that made me curious enough that, yeah, I wanted to check this thing out. It's kind of cool. I mean, this thing's quite portable. It runs on 24 volts DC, so you could potentially power it with a couple lead acid batteries. Of course, it comes with a power brick, so you can just plug it in. And this is one of those that has these hoses that you can use to control where the air is flowing and how you want to have it set up. These extend and are flexible. And they just twist lock onto the unit. And the cool thing about a unit like this is you can either have it in the room with you that you're trying to cool, or you can have it outside of the room, and it just depends on which hoses you want to use. If you have it in the room with you, well then you need to get the outside air in and out. So you would just twist lock your hoses on like this, and another one here, and you would run that to, you know, out of a window, outside of your tent, whatever, and that is going to draw the outside air in and then discharge the heated air out, and that'll be your cooling air here. Now if you want the unit outside of the area you're cooling, you just do the opposite. So now this thing is outside, so it's just going to draw in the outside air, discharge the heated air, and here you run this. This is your conditioned air in, and this is the cold air discharge out, and you just run these into your tent or whatever it is that you're trying to cool. So it's a pretty flexible setup. So I've got it on max cooling, fan speed high. It's really not that loud. The ambient temperature is just over 77 degrees, and the output temperature is 64. So we're getting a 13 degree drop. That would be about 7 Celsius drop. And the discharge air is 111. So yeah, it's doing its job pretty well. It is drawing 260 watts or 2.2 amps at 120 volts. So what's the use case for something like this? I mean, obviously if you have an RV and you don't have AC, this can help you out. This can also supplement if your air conditioner isn't able to keep up on the hottest days. You can use something like this to increase your cooling capacity. For me, it's camping. My wife Jennifer and I like to go camping, but summer camping, not so much, because if I can't sleep, camping just becomes miserable. If it's too hot and sticky, I just can't sleep. Something like this in a tent with a portable power pack, I'll actually be able to air condition the tent and get the humidity out and get it to a comfortable level where I can get a good night's sleep. Now, obviously, this is car camping, glamping. This isn't backwoods backpacking I'm talking about, but yeah, cool little unit, and Jennifer and I are actually planning on going to the beach camping next week, so I think this thing's going to come in handy because it's still pretty hot. And I also have one other use case for this that's a little less conventional as to what it's intended to be used for. We'll see that a little later in the video, I think. What can I say about this unit? It's light, but it seems to have reasonable build quality like the other stuff I've gotten from Bouge RV. It does the job. It seems to be pretty efficient, drawing less than 300 watts and producing some real cooling that can be useful to you. Yeah, I kind of like it, and I expect I'm going to be using this in the future. If you're interested in something like this, check the links in the description. Stuff from Bouge RV I've found to be of reasonable build quality and pretty good prices. So check them out if you're interested. Let's get back to work. And the rain begins. At least it waited until I was done compacting. Well, it rained an absurd amount again last night. They were calling for scattered thunderstorms, and it rained all night and all morning. Man, this is the first time I've ever built a pond, and this is the most rain I've ever seen in a summer. We usually have trouble with drought. It won't stop raining. They're calling for rain every day this week. I guess I should have figured. Anyway, thankfully the dam's not getting washed out. I can hear the creek rushing down the hill. I actually haven't walked down there yet. That's good to see. Relatively clear water coming out of the pipe. And you can see why having rocky stuff on the back of the dam is not so bad. I believe that pipe there is from someone trying to put a ram pump down here that got washed out. This right here is way too muddy for me to do anything with. I've let this sit here all day and dry out. You can see it's still wet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, he wants all that upper stuff cleared. So I'm going to take the excavator in there and we're going to clear that out. Some of you may have spotted the problem. This is all the clay I have left in this pond bottom. So the reason for the clearing up above is more obvious now. I need to go up there and get more clay. I need a lot more damn dirt. But first let's finish getting the clay that I do have left. Finally, I don't need the dump truck. I can just pull the clay up on the dam with the excavator. But I'm out of clay here, so what I'm going to do is finish up shaping the other side of the dam with the excavator. Then I'm going to compact this, and then we're going to push dirt off of this the area up over there that I cleared yesterday and get some more clay. I don't know if your eyes can tell on the camera, but there's a flag. I'm right at the flag on the far side, but it's probably going to be at least a foot above that flag, maybe 2. I haven't got a final on that yet. So that side is within 2 feet of finished height. This side, the same flag is right there, so that would be within 2 feet, and it looks like I'm at least a couple, probably a little more than a couple feet low there, maybe about 2 feet there. So not too much. You know, the dam is getting narrower on both sides as it comes up. So to add a few feet of dirt to this is so much easier than it was to add a few feet to the base. So yeah, we're coming along. Now I'm just out of clay, and I'm hot, tired, and it's dinner time. So I'm gonna go get some dinner. I'll probably come back here after dinner. All right, the goal this evening is to take all these brush piles, add them to the big burn pile over there, and start pushing this topsoil off. Now there's a fair amount of rocky stuff in here, and we're just gonna leave that. But if it's good topsoil, I'm gonna push all that off. But there's a fuel tank here I need to avoid. And then hopefully I'm gonna be able to find a good supply of clay underneath this. That's the plan. Let's get to work. It's hard to tell on camera, but with all the recent rain, it's pretty muddy, and this is in a low area, so there is no chance of getting the dump truck in here. Basically, I have to push all this mucky topsoil off to get to the clay that I need. Well, I can tell you I like my dozer, but for this part of the job, I really could have used a bigger one. Also something with some deeper grousers. This took a long time pushing this mucky dirt. Time to stop for the night. All right, I know what you're thinking, and I had no idea. Did not plan this, did not know anything about this until I went to edit this video. Shut up. Well, that was a pain. That took a long time. It's wet, doesn't help for pushing, and it's full of logs, doesn't help for pushing. Constantly, you're hitting a log that you can't see, and it's redirecting the dozer. It forces you to go one side or the other. But now I've got the topsoil out in a place that's much drier. I'll be able to truck to here. This whole area is so wet. Even now that the topsoil is gone, I'm still worried that I might have some issues with getting stuck in the dump truck. But it is relatively flat, so I'm gonna give it a try. We're basically gonna drive right here, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I bet you saw that coming. I set the dozer to pulling as hard as it could without the track spinning. Still couldn't get it out. I've actually got some help. My friend's driving the dump truck, I'm pulling with the dozer, so let's pull a little harder. Yeah, I can break that chain too. Almost had it. She's sunk in there pretty good now, though. Good grief. Stuck good. We'll get it out. We have to. Well, everything's still all kind of damp, but at least it's not muck. And hopefully it won't sink in. Can I drive out of that? I think I'll back up a little bit and then take a run at it. Here I was thinking I would drive back and it would compact the track and then I'd have a good driving surface. Wishful thinking. This job has tested my patience several times, and this was definitely one of them. Of all summers to have such a wet summer, if it had been a drought, I would not be having any of these issues, and it's hard for that to not just go through your head when you're struggling. I can't believe I can't drive out of that. That's ridiculous. We were able to pull out of it though with our new shorter chain. So thankfully the owner has some stone. Sometimes you just have to build a road. Well, the back of the dump truck didn't fare so well with the dozer blade mashing on the brake lights. You know, farm use. It's fine. Finally, we can actually start making progress on the dam again. Damn it. So I saw some oil on the blade there, and I thought, you know, maybe the hydraulic oil overflow kicked in again, but it's not that hot today, and the machine hasn't gotten that hot. And I saw that. Huh. That's something. Looking under here, I see a lot of it. And this is not where it was leaking from the overflow. In fact, that's diagonally opposite on the machine. This is right under the hydraulic pump. So I look in there, and I actually think it might be coming from right there by the accumulator. See how wet that is? Well, all right, let's take a look. Some idiot must not have tightened it enough. Wonder who had that apart last. So as usual, out here in the field, I don't have the right tools. I made a custom wrench to be able to reach in there and tighten that nut, which has an O-ring on the back, to seal against the pump housing. But I don't have that wrench, and nothing that I have will fit on there. What I do have is a giant adjustable, and I was able to get this on there well enough that I was able to rotate the entire thing just a little bit and snug it up. So I'm hoping that for now it won't leak so much. I took a rag, I wiped off all around that, and we'll run it a little bit and see how things look. If it's just leaking a little bit, I'll just bring that wrench back next time I come. So I started it up and it looked okay at first, but when I went to operate some of the functions, it started leaking. Alright, I ran home, got my custom wrench, and that thing is tight, very tight, and it's still leaking. So I bet you the O-ring is cracked and needs to be taken off. Awesome. So I knew I was going to end up doing this, so I also brought a power pack and my vacuum so that I can do it without dumping hot hydraulic oil all over the place. So let's get her done. There's the O-ring. Forgot to bring an O-ring pick, but I have a little tiny Allen wrench. Yeah, that O-ring is very hard and no longer round. I think we have a match. It is very close. So let's get this thing on here. I can turn the vacuum off for a couple of minutes and then the oil starts to want to dribble. So I point it the way I want it to go and then tighten down that nut and it squeezes the O-ring against the face. I did not forget the thread sealant. This little thing's got a tapered pipe thread on it, so gotta use sealant on this one. She's back together. Now, did that fix it? Yeah, I think that's gonna do it. Not leaking. All right, I'm gonna top off the hydraulic oil and we're back in business. Just a touch above the flag on the far side. The dam has a slight pression in the middle, but it's fairly straight, and I'm probably 2 feet low here. So we've got a little upward angle there. So I'm gonna put the dozer on that side. I'm gonna dump a bunch of truckloads of dirt on the dam, and then I'm gonna push this way and get it level. All right, I just got out the laser level and shot some elevations. Basically, on the far end, I need a foot, which quickly slopes down to 2 feet. And then I just need 2 more feet on the rest of it. And I have enough width. We'll get some more dirt and we're gonna build this up. Now, the other thing that I've been thinking about, the elephant in the room is this pond gonna leak? I'm really quite shocked at how that is dropping down there because it is full of silt. You would think any cracks in those rocks would have long since been sealed. So I dug all the clay out of there. We didn't expect to be hitting rock. I mean, look, that bedrock is just right there. We thought there was going to be 10 feet of clay for me to work with. We may end up having to line this pond, either with a pond liner or clay, or one kind of cool country solution that we may try is to fence it off and put hogs in it. Hogs will wallow in the muck and basically just work the clay and muck into all the cracks of the rocks and seal it up. Make it into a hog wallow and let them fix it for you. So for now, let's get the dam done. Damn it. 2 more feet. Look at how much clay is just stuck in that thing. It's like a foot thick. She sprung a leak, and it's not a slow leak either. That was while it was moving. It's when the engine's running, and it's kind of coming from either the back of the engine or the front of the transmission. I can't tell. And it's kind of so tight up underneath there that it's hard for me to even get in there to see. So I'm going to run it up on some boards. Use the blade, push it down, get those boards underneath there. And then I'm going to crawl under there and see if we can't figure out where this thing's leaking. See if I need to take it home to fix it, or maybe it's just a loose hose or something, or a hose that needs to be replaced. Always something. Always something. Really want to go monkeying with stuff until I have confirmed where the leak's coming from so that I know I've fixed it. So, let's see what we can figure out here. Okay, so it is that line right there, and that snakes over and then goes across to the radiator. Now, it's not radiator fluid, that's actually transmission fluid going to the radiator to cool the transmission fluid. Basically, that's a hydraulic hose. So I'm going to need to get plugs and pop it off of there and get plenty of rags and get hydraulic oil or transmission oil all over me and get this hose off of here. Then tomorrow I ought to be able to take it to Napa and get a new one made up for about $1,000. Yeah, I'm in a positive mood right now. This thing might not leak incessantly. So I'm going to crack this fitting, and because I don't have my JIC plugs with me. Of course, the whole thing's got to back out. So there's an adapter here going into the housing and then a JIC fitting on the adapter. I need it to unscrew here at this fitting. Instead, it's unscrewing from the housing, because of course it is. Alright, I've got my JIC plug and cap. I've got my 1¼ wrench, but I only have 1¼ wrench. And there's just not room to get on that one. So this is going to be a trick. It's right up against this housing. I'm hoping that if I jam a screwdriver in there, that'll prevent that adapter from spinning. Yeah, of course. You know, I didn't realize I've gotten spoiled, because usually I'm on my farm and I've got all my tools at my disposal. And when I go somewhere else, I don't have my tools, and it's frustrating. Makes things harder. Hats off to all you contractors out there. There's a bolt right there in the way, and there's a bolt right behind it in the way. It's basically impossible to get a wrench on. See, the stupid adapter's spinning, and I need it to break loose between the two. And there's really, I have to break that loose. There's no other way to do this. It's just a hose, but it's going to be a fight. So I'm going to try and take this bolt out and see if I can get it out of my way. Now, there's a bunch of oil going to come dumping out of there. What is that bolt even for? Ah! Yes. So it's a plug, and it's exactly in my way. I'm gonna have to drain the fluid out of this thing. Ah! Really? I'm trying the screwdriver again. I've got it in a better position, and I'm double wrenching, so I have a lot of leverage on this thing. I can't believe that. Come on now. What happened? Oh, I actually got it. I wonder what it's going to be like trying to get a cap and a plug in there after that thing starts dumping. I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to get that line off of there because it's hard up against this. Now that I look at it, oh my goodness. I'm going to have to take these hard lines off. All right, we're coming back in the morning. It's probably 7:30 p.m. right now. This is going to be the biggest pain of a hydraulic hose I think I've ever changed. Go ahead and snug this back down just so it doesn't start leaking all overnight. And I'm probably just going to drain the fluid tomorrow. All right, I slept on it, and I'm glad I did, because I realized that this is a perfect example where you kind of need to step back and reevaluate. Getting this thing apart is going to be a bear. I'm going to have to take these lines off. I think those are hydraulic lines, and they are below the hydraulic tank, so those are just going to constantly leak. Now, I could take them off and plug and cap them, but that's going to be a job. And that's just to be able to remove this, because this is going to have to come straight down. There's no room for it to go this way. That's a piece of 3/4 inch plate there. And then the other end of this line is also very difficult to get off. I'm going to need an 1¼ crow's foot wrench, which I don't have. There's the other end of that hose, and it has to unscrew right there. This fitting goes into the radiator, and there's no room here. You can't. There's no plate underneath you can take off. There's no access from above, from the front, from the back. The only way you're going to get that off is with a crow's foot wrench. I mean, you've got like 3 inches there. Definitely need a custom tool or a crow's foot wrench to get that off. Yeah, this line is just, good grief. You're talking about like a lot of hours just to replace a stupid line. And I've looked this thing over real well. I hope you can see there. But that's where the leak is. There's just a little hole right there. The only other thing I see on this line is there is a break in the rubber right. You know, the leak is like here, and then the break in the rubber is there. But there's enough slack in it that I think I can just cut that section out. Now it is a hydraulic line. I mean, it's got JIC fittings on it. I don't know what pressure it's rated to. There's no writing on it, but this is a transmission. It's being used as a transmission cooler line. This thing does not have high pressure. And I can attest to that because this hole, which I looked at while the engine was running, was just dripping. And if it was, 100 PSI or more, it would be spraying actively up in here. And this up here is dry. The hole's right there. So it should have painted everything if it was high pressure. So I say this thing is 20 PSI or less, which means this is ideal to cut the line, cut out the bad section, put in a hose barb and some hose clamps, and roll on. Now, obviously, I'll have to keep an eye on it and make sure I'm correct, that it's not going to blow out my repair. But yeah, that's the thing to do here. Trying to replace this line, it's first inclination, do it right, put a new line in there. But this is so much work. And it's going to be expensive. That's a pretty good sized line. Probably going to cost me a couple $100 at least, probably $250 to get a new line and a day's work. Let's cut that out. I've got a clean bucket here, so I can cut the line, let the fluid drain, and then work on getting a hose bar. I bet you that's going to be a reasonable and permanent repair for this. Now, I wonder how long that's going to drain. Doesn't all need to come out because there is a reservoir. You can see that. That's the reservoir right there. And the hose comes off way up here. So obviously, all of the fluid is not going to come out. On the end of all that, not that much oil came out, actually. Really not much at all. So I probably won't bother trying to put that back in. Okay, so now I need to cut these lines off square and where I want them cut off. And then I'm going to put this hose barb in there with some hose clamps. I just ran it for about 10 minutes. Good. Well, that thing's leaking again, and it vibrated and basically unscrewed a little bit. So I just took some wire and tied it up so that it couldn't do that, but it's still leaking. So that dumb O-ring is probably torn again. This accumulator has been nothing but trouble. Every time I need to do anything back here, yeah, it's going away. Yep, butchered the O-ring again. So that should no longer leak. There's no O-rings. There's pipe thread with sealant, and other than that, it's just British pipe compression type fitting, which those don't usually leak. That stupid O-ring boss against that hot hydraulic pump just could not work. Brake cleaner, so I'll be able to see if it leaks again. So this time it's actually fixed. Let's finish up this damn dam. I've gotten fairly good at using this dozer, but trying to get this perfectly flat and level with no undulations up and down on such a narrow strip I found pretty challenging.
I've ran this thing for quite a while now. No leaks. Hair is holding. Love it.
Right, you probably can't tell on camera, but the far half is pretty flat and it's at the right height. So that's pretty much done. This half is still a little bit low here, and a little bit high here. Just got a little more dozing to do, and then the dam is done. Holy shit. Damn. What? It's hot out here. It is hot out here. Oh, that feels better than sex. Don't tell my wife I said that. No, seriously, this actually makes me think maybe I ought to put the glass back in and re-enclose this thing, because I have AC. I mean, that thing's putting out some cold air. I can't exactly show you, but it is. It feels really good. But, you know, I don't use this thing in the summer all the time, and I do like having the open air and the easy entry and everything, so I probably won't. But this is a nice option on those really hot days.